One. Alright. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Nerds of Legend. I am Ben. Next to me is Joel. Missy might join us eventually, but I don't know. Also, Brendan is indisposed, so might just be the two of us for now. We'll see what happens.
Best two after Missy.
Of course. A couple of things. We're going to pick a book later in the episode for next time. And then we are going to continue talking about The Innocent Mage today by Karen Miller. And then next week, me and Brendan will continue talking about Warhammer 40k. Maybe Joel, if he decides to show up.
If it's about Primarchs, I'll definitely be in. Especially if you're going to go in order, so you could go to, like, Elfist for the first one.
Oh, we're going to start with we're start with the First Legion.
Yeah. I don't know who that is. Who's
Dark
First
Angels.
Legion? Alpheus, got it. Is it like Alpha?
That's the lion.
The two? Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Yes. Other than that, we'll be continuing with our regularly scheduled program of Thursday Dungeons and Dragons. Beyond that,
the only thing we're able to keep consistently at the same time.
Yes, because someone decides to keep having a life and scheduling things over our normal book talk times.
I didn't schedule anything.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
You scheduled an appointment on Monday.
Oh, shit. Yeah, but that was a makeup appointment. That was a last-minute makeup appointment.
Very well. It does not matter. You still failed me.
My turn for what? The synopsis.
Yes.
All right. We are in the Kingdom of Lur. The Innocent Mage takes place in the Kingdom of Lur with the House of Doranen. House of Dorn? That's right. A lot of D names.
There's a lot of names.
A lot of D names. A lot of weird names. But anyway, the king and the queen are magic users. All of the Doranen people are magic users. And they share the country of Lur with the Olken, who are not magic users. Nor are they blondes. And all the Doranen are blondes. And the most powerful one is the king, who also has control of weather magic, which is never explained why. And the use of said weather magic keeps a wall. Barl's wall.
Yeah.
Barl's wall, which is supposed to keep some monster or some unholy thing at bay. Doesn't really explain why it was there, what it was there, and actually just kind of pops into the middle of the story with zero explanation. But that being said, this is followed by Asher, who is what we are led to believe the main antagonist, and you are led to believe he is going to do some secret magic-y stuff. He doesn't, and he is befriended by the prince, who is a Doranen with no magic, and he is the ambassador to the Olken people. Out of nowhere, Gar, the prince, decides to find Asher and says, "You seem to be a pretty good guy at mucking out stables. Come become my number one advisor."
Yeah.
And that did. And
you're a smart guy, and you don't kiss ass. You don't kiss ass to me, even though I'm a prince.
Yep. And so he took him to court. He said he should have died because it was the right thing to do. Done. And that became Asher's time. The story meanders. A lot of world building.
Yes.
A lot of world building. And then at the very end, Gar gets his magic back. That's the synopsis, because the rest we're going to get through discussion.
Yep. What'd you think?
Okay, honestly, it was one of those, like, I really liked the world building. There were a lot of things. Missy and I were talking about this, is out of nowhere, massive things were just thrown in. Like, the wall. Barl's wall, which turned out to be, like, the reason the Doranen people are there, and the reason there's a weather worker, was just thrown in, like, a third of the way into the book.
Yeah. Yeah, there's, like, a lot of, I feel like it's very good at building the world, sort of, introducing things that are going on, and then, but also not explaining a whole lot, and then you're like
not explaining shit.
Yeah.
And then you think you're kind of crazy because then you just, as I just entered the narrative.
Yeah, she just pops right in.
happens, right?
You entered the narrative, like all of the details in the story did. Just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Lost
Lost you for a second there, Missy.
Oh. I just thought, like, did I miss something? And
Yeah.
then I'm like, kind of like going back, like, am I crazy? Was I just not paying attention? Like, what? Like,
No, they just drop terms and then not elaborate.
Like, you didn't really figure out, like, they brought the thing like the weather worker out right away. And they're using it interchangeably with the king. And then you figure out the king is the weather worker. I still don't know, and I'm partially the way into the second book, what the purpose of that is in maintaining Bartle's Wall. I have no idea.
So that's kind of explained in the diary that Derm read. Is basically
Which was found in a conveniently unearthed, completely magical library.
Yep.
Like, Gar comes back, and they're like, hey, he comes back from the dad being sick. The dad's like, cool, let me show you something. It's a magic library.
Yeah, I will say that the book, in terms of like everybody except Asher, is very predictable.
Yes.
Asher's basically like the chaos.
I will take one thing that I did find refreshing. The king and queen stayed decent people the entire story.
Don't you
Like,
think they're
there's
going to
no
turn out to be
hidden-
bad people?
Yeah, I was expecting them to have some like hidden machinations.
he had a temper. Like, he would eventually just, like, he would hit a point where he was like, listen, shut up. Like,
Yeah, but he didn't like do horrible things. Everything he did was just. It was fair.
Yeah, he's a good king.
You know, like a doting father. It's not at any point in time or nothing. Like a lot of these stories, the king turns out to be a garbage person
Yeah.
who was just there by right. But this guy seemed to be all the way through, and I like that. Now the chief mage sucked ass. Dorn, he was horrible.
Derm.
The whole time, he consistently sucked ass as an elitist, magic-using prick. Fane, the princess, and the weather worker in waiting.
Yeah.
Absolute horrible person from jump.
I did like how Darren had a little bit like redeeming moment at the end there, like because he's like you know what, you saved my boy, therefore we're square.
But
I still don't like you, but I'm not going to be a prick anymore. It's
I
kind
liked
of
it where he was like, "You're still an unwashed oaf."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, you're still an ass."
you're still a stuck up prick, and he's like
What did
he's
he
like
call him all the time?
the crow.
Yeah, he called him you're a stuffy old crow.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, he's an Olken that was literally raised in the castle. Like,
To be an administrator, basically.
Yeah, he was an administrator from like birth. So all of this fussy stuff, they're for being around royalty. Like that's his life.
Yeah, basically. So you have like two, I'm going to call them races in this book. They're distinguished
yeah, but they're really
by
just blondes and brunettes. It's the
Yes,
war of
but
blondes and brunettes.
no, it's alluded to that the Olken are like really strong and like really good for physical labor, and then they're also like really good administrators and merchants, and then like basically all the Doranen have is magic.
Yeah, but they all have magic.
Yeah, right.
Like it's not like only a few. All of them have magic to the point where like Gar, though he's a prince, everybody's like he's a cripple.
Yeah,
you know, because he didn't have magic.
Right.
Which I still never got. If he got the magic or if he was given magic by Dorn.
No, the bad guy gave him magic.
He didn't, because I thought he unlocked something in his brain.
No, he created a spell to like that would like give Gar magic. It's sort of like he gave him a portion of his power so that he could like use it and like basically be able to take control of him at any time, sort of. There's a lot. This is a dense book. It wasn't like a slog, but it was definitely like, holy shit, we're only halfway through at a certain point.
Nothing happened. Like, what was funny is like
but
nothing.
It was a pleasant story.
It was a good story.
Like, you know, like nothing happened for 3/4 of it, but somehow, as someone who isn't a big fantasy person, like I still was engaged. In it. Like I was still like invested in wanting to know.
Well, so much of it was almost like a slice of life.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. Because a lot of a lot of fantasy has like almost a breakneck pace, you know, like you get in there, there's a triggering event. Now the person's got the epic quest given from either like some powerful mage or like on high or whatever. But like, and then they just balls to the wall run until it's taken care of. This one wasn't. This one was like, there was a lot of figuring it out. You know, Asher didn't want to do what he wanted to do. Didn't want to do what the prince wanted him to do. Then he's like, it's only going to be a year. He stuck with the year, found out he was good at some things, came back, got his ass absolutely handed to him by his brothers.
Oh my gosh.
That part made me sad. Like,
I definitely teared up a little bit. I was like, "Aw." I knew his dad was dead. I knew his dad was dead.
You didn't want to admit it, but you knew it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I will tell you, what is her name? Daphne. Danthe. Danthe.
But you looked at like, because you're at like, at that point you're...
Daphne.
Yeah, it is.
At that point, you're 3/4 of the way through the book, and they're like, all right, the only way that Asher's going back to Doranen is if his dad's dead. So I was like, the dad's going to be... I was like, I knew it. I was like, it happened exactly how I... Like, there are a lot of predictable things that happen in this book, which isn't a bad thing.
But pleasantly, like, not the dad being dead.
Yeah.
That's not pleasantly, but like... Not predictable in like a groaning, like like you see.
Oh, here's a trope. Yeah, not another trope.
Like, it wasn't that. It was like I could see this happening. Like everything followed a path that felt realistic.
Yeah,
it felt correct, and so you knew the dad. You suspected the dad was going to be dead. He's there. You knew the second his brothers talked to him that he was going to either beat the hell out of him or they were going to beat him up. Since it was 6-1.
What I wanted was him to like show his dad like, oh, you know, I did it, and then his dad to be like, there's nothing for you here, go back.
Like, the entire time,
I'm hearing that out loud, that would have been way better than what
the entire time. I was like as soon as he got hooked up with the prince, why didn't he like send a note to his dad and be like, hey dad, I got set up in the palace, come live with me. Like,
yeah. Asher does seem to lack a lot of foresight.
Oh my God. So that was like my big annoyance with the book was Asher was like whatever the author needed him to be at the time. Whether it was like dumb as a box of rocks, stubborn as a mule, or like randomly like super quick-witted and like knows the exact thing to do in a situation. You know, like...
But I thought he was consistent. I found Asher to be kind of consistent, you know, with him being able to roll with the punches. Like, he seemed very good at common sense type things.
Yeah.
And he seemed very good at being able to make, like, moral judgments.
Yes.
However, anything that...
His interpersonal skills were so bad.
Yes. It's funny, in the book... The second book now, they're talking about, you know, Danthe is... What's her name? Daphne?
Daphne.
I've got to keep saying Daphne.
Yeah.
I looked up how the character names are spelled, and it's Danthe, Danthe. Oh. But we're going to call her Daphne because that's what they called her. She was talking about he, like, abhors history books but loves fairy tales.
Yeah.
And, like he's just like a sheltered child who wasn't given access to this stuff and doesn't like the stuff that he was, you know. He's like, the only reason
he knew how to read was because his mom demanded it, sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But he didn't like it.
Yeah.
He didn't like nerdy stuff.
Yeah, but at every turn, it's like he's like, yes, I read that book you made me read.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. You're currently in graduate school. I'm assuming you're reading a lot of shit you don't want to look at.
Yes.
I doubt your professor's like, Ben, we're going to read Lord of the Rings again, and you're like, yeah. You know.
I think, you're looking at the juxtaposition between the two of them, right? Yeah. You have both of these people who are on this quest. This life took them together, they're besties, and now, you know, it's good. They're going to be at odds, right? You have the innocent mage, and then but who is the innocent mage, right?
Right.
Halfway through the second book, you still don't know, so
Right?
it's good.
The whole
Like, what does that
book
even
sets
mean?
it up. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you think that it's gonna be Asher, but
You don't even know if they picked right, honestly.
Yeah,
With
like-
Daphne being so certain, you don't even know if it's correct if she picked the wrong person.
but I think she did because
He's the main character.
because she's the heir, right? She's the magician's heir.
Yeah.
Gervais, yeah.
And that's who came out of the thing, right?
Yeah. So was
No,
he?
that was Morg.
So was he?
Morg came out of it. Morg is a Doranen.
Yeah. So was JaVale? Was he like an Olken?
No, Gervais' heir is like something 600 years ago.
So I might have missed it, but was JaVale like an Olken that could do magic or something? Like he was a seer?
You didn't miss it. They didn't say shit about it.
Okay, because I thought there was a whole conversation with Daphne
Nope.
and Matt where they kind of explained some things.
Oh, they explained that their plan and prophecy is like the catch-all for shit that we need to happen. It's like when I would throw stuff to TikTok to move the plot forward. That's prophecy.
Yeah.
It's just pretty much plot baiting.
Yeah.
And,
Like that's what it is, anyways.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it never explained it. Like Gervais' heir never explained what Gervais' heir was.
Like 20, however long the story was, 20 plus hours, however many 100 pages. It was very detailed, but not you still left with a ton of questions.
Yeah.
And not even pleasant, just random whole world questions.
This wasn't like one of those books where it's like, oh, this was a book they decided they got to the 2,000 words or whatever and decided, oh, I'm gonna need another book out of this. It felt like this was written to be a 2-part book.
Yeah, a massive book.
But
Yeah.
I do like that it's just a duology.
Yes,
right?
for once.
We're not going 73 books deep, trying to figure out this world.
Right.
We theoretically you'd have resolution.
Yeah. It's not like Court of Thorns and Roses when you're like, oh, by the way, it's like, you're not even done if you get through the 3rd book. There's another trilogy she wrote. And I'm like, no.
That shit is just a cash,
it's cash cow.
She wrapped up their story and the 3rd one was like, huh, people really like this. How can I go? Nesta.
Yeah.
And now she's like, I got another sister, Elaine.
Yeah.
But she's got other.
But didn't she just pout all day long?
Elaine.
Yeah, Elaine just pout that she.
Yeah.
But I digress. This was written to be a duology, right?
Yeah.
This. So hopefully there is resolution.
Yeah, I thought I honestly didn't realize it was going to be until I hit chapter 28, I didn't realize that it was I looked at it and I was like, the Mog, who's by the way, spoilers, the bad guy, the big bad evil guy, is able to possess and take over the head magician and take his place, and that's when shit starts to hit the fan. And then
Gervais' heir, according to Weebly, means you get visions.
Okay.
That's it.
Whatever. So
yeah, literally, whatever. Who cares?
Basically, he ends up basically taking the place of the head magician, and that's when shit starts to hit the fan. And I thought, oh, great.
No, he possesses.
Asher's going to somehow get his power. And,
see, that's the thing is I don't know because also the innocent mage is also Gar.
Yeah.
Gar could be the innocent mage or the awakened mage too.
Yeah.
That's what I think I think we're setting it up to be
I think Daphne's going to be wildly wrong and be like, holy fuck.
I think Asher's going to be Samwise.
Yeah.
He's going to be Samwise. He's going to carry him to the mountain and toss him in.
He's going to guide him along his quest, but he's not the main. He's not Frodo.
Yeah. Gar's
going to become super evil because of that point where he's kissing everybody's hands and doing all this stuff. Oh, you didn't see it. Wrong book. Never mind. Anyways.
I could see it going to his head, though, because, like, it's all he ever wanted.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he tried to deny it, even early on when his dad was...
And now there's nothing in his way keeping him from doing it. Like,
nothing. There's no family claim except for Conrad Gerard, who is the dashingly beautiful...
They said, like, he had, like, a single thin braid, and all I could think about was, like, a rat tail. And so I don't...
No, it was obviously like a Padawan braid from Star Wars. Get it together, nerd.
She does actually write Star Wars.
See? She has a one braid.
That's where I know that name from. Oh my gosh. I've been trying to figure out where I've known that Karen Miller from. But if she writes Star Wars books, that explains it. I've read some of her stuff. So...
I looked it up today. I looked it up how many books there were, and I was like, oh, good, there's just 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun. I liked the story quite a bit. And I loved, like, the world seems like you could lose yourself in this world. Like, while you're driving, you could, like, in your head, smell the smells and feel the feels. And, like, the simpleness of the small fishing village, like, that felt it, you know, like, as you're reading it, it felt like you were there. You get such a clear imagery, and it's going back to almost like the clarity like Deborah Harkness had with Discovery of Witches. Such detailed worlds that like you almost build a memory in your head of like what it's like.
You almost get teleported there, almost.
Not only did she write some Clone Wars books, she also wrote Stargate books.
That explains it. I thought the writing style seemed familiar. I was
Stargate's
just trying to...
the best of all the gates.
Nerds.
Nerds. You're a terrible person for saying that.
But yeah, I thought it was really well put together. Like I said, the one issue was like she'd like name drop stuff and then not do anything with it or refuse to elaborate.
Yeah. Like, you didn't realize what Barrow's Wall was until, 45 minutes to the end of the book?
And apparently it's some huge glowing thing that goes around the entire kingdom.
Yeah, apparently is, like, super clear to see to everybody. And they just like, are you going to look to the north? That's for losers. Yeah. Nobody looks north.
You do a good job, like, in Game of Thrones, where you're like, the wall.
Yeah, they didn't shut the fuck up about the wall in Game of Thrones.
Like,
yeah.
The fucking King's Landing knew about it. That's 17 million miles away. And they're like, back at the wall. You know, no, there's a wall literally like 6 feet out their door that's like hundreds of feet high. And they're like, you want to talk about that? They're like, shut up, nerd. There's stuff over there. Fuck off. Like, I feel like it should have been brought up. It should have been in like the first chapter.
Yeah.
But how, like,
we don't get establishing stats. You know, like children's stories, you're like, in the kingdom of Lur, you know. There, you know, you don't get that story that.
How did you feel about their magic? Because to me, it almost felt like it was an afterthought, and I think
it was. It was. They all had it. It was.
Yeah, like he's learning.
Well, so what you end up finding out, it seems like, is that like a lot of the magic is not like has been like lost or like wiped from the like people's memory or forbidden. So like the most offensive magic, it sounds like, that they know is like this glimfire, which is basically like, I don't know, like light spells that they can like hurl at each other, but which like is not allowed.
It can burn.
Yeah.
It seems like they only had like healing and like construction magics, and like the actual like defensive magics were gone.
Because like it seems like the war between the races, right, was so bad that they lost.
Was it the races? Did they fight the Olken, or were they?
I thought there was.
No, it sounded like the Doranen fled over the mountains, found some
and
like.
The Olken were like, "Stop! You can stay here for a little bit."
And then they decided, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're in charge now." They're like, "What?"
Yeah, and your magic sucks.
Yeah, you don't have any magic, so we're in charge now. They're like,
No, but they do have magic, and like they have a certain type of magic.
But they were banned from using it. Sounds like were bloody, like purgings of like all magic knowledge from the Olken. So it's like,
I don't know. All the Olken sound like backwater hicks.
Well, but also like
they all have Cockney accents, you know.
The kid who got Timothy or whatever, like I know they weren't. It was like timid or whatever. The kid who got executed, that didn't do anything. Like, it didn't go anywhere. It didn't start a war. It didn't, like, you know, like, you were, like, in my mind, you see that moment as, you know, the, like, in Hunger Games, when Rue dies, that's the moment.
Well, yeah, because then they fast forward 6 months.
Yeah, like, you don't see anything. Like, you don't, like...
Like, he was about to quit, though, remember? He's like, I'm done. I can't believe you made me watch a murder.
Basically, it sets... It's sort of like... I feel like the point of that was to basically be like, hey, this is how, like, magic use in among the Olken is treated, and to sort of, like, set the stakes for Asher of, like, oh, this is what we have to, like, this is what it kind of means.
Get to it.
I really thought, like, Asher was going to be, like, have a power awakened or something, or, like, be so incensed by this child's senseless murder that he's going to be like, they're evil. But instead, he's like, I'm going to get fucked up. Like,
but again, like, that's why you think, like, that's why I doubt that he's the innocent mage, because he doesn't have that moment. And Gar is the one that has it. Even if it's forced, even if it's artificial magic.
If Asher has a magic moment, he seems like a person who would not give a shit.
Yeah.
He does seem like he would not care if he was, if he gets magic.
He seems like utterly unimpressed by it, too.
Yeah, like literally unimpressed by magic. Which... Because
he's also, like, I mean, he comes from a place where, like, you can't be interested in it or you will die.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and so it's just, I don't know.
I don't know. I was raised evangelical, and, like, liking even any kind of magic was dooming me to hellfire, and I liked a bunch of magic stuff. Secretly, because I wouldn't tell anybody.
You're still alive, you don't know.
No, you're right. I might be damned to hellfire. Well, I'll let you know. I'll let you know if I die.
Yeah, I overall...
600 years as a ghost.
Come back 600 years as a ghost possessing a morbidly obese man.
Yep.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot that happens. There's a lot that happens in the book, and then I'm looking back on it, and it's like also a lot doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. Like you're almost.
I'm going to finish the second book because I really want to know what the hell's happening.
Yeah, and.
I mean, this one like was a finalist. Like the first one was a finalist for a couple of awards. Like she did like. You know, I think it did fairly well back in the, day. I found it because when I was in London, someone was, like, reading it very intently on the train.
Yeah.
And, like, like, the world was, like, everyone was jostling everything, and this person is deep in this book, not moving. It's like, that's a book I need to know what it is.
Yeah.
Like, and I could see it, like...
Yeah.
Or that person just had crazy focus that even,
It's definitely one of those ones where if I, like... There's some, like, that we do that I can kind of, like, half listen to it and get the gist, but this one, it was, like, if my attention waned, or, like, all of a sudden, like, I'd be like, wait, what the hell's going on?
See, I found this was one that I could put in and kind of, like, lose myself as I'm doing stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it was a very deep, immersive story, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's what I mean. I couldn't, like, pay attention to something else while I was listening to it.
Yeah.
No, I could.
Has this been approved?
Yeah, it was good.
You've had other Ben approved books. It's only when I try to pick books for you that they're not Ben approved, because I suck at picking books that people would like.
Yeah. Well, stop rolling the scribed roulette.
Oh, yeah, absolutely not. I'm not doing it anyway. Anyway, an Audible selection, no.
Yeah.
Whose pick is it, this one? Are we done? Or
well, I believe it's Brendan, but he's not here, and I believe we decided that if someone is not present, then they don't get to pick.
Do you want to just read the second book?
Well, I have questions in that. Is Brendan part of this book one? He skipped the last few, so have I. So I can't. I have judged.
He's been on them. I don't know.
He might just want to bow out.
Has some personal stuff going on, so we're gonna.
So, what do you say about reading the second book, The Awakened Mage, and seeing?
I wanted to pick
because it's 24 hours.
Yeah.
24 hours.
Fine. We'll read a book you've never read. Go with Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, I was going. So, since I'm up in the rotation after Brendan, I was going to say that we should read Caiaphas. No, I'm kidding.
Brendan and I both have personal things. We will be away from this.
Yeah. So this is an Audible book, but we haven't done an Audible book in a while, so I don't feel bad about doing it.
It's the PMBOK Guide to Program Management.
No, it's Red Shirts by John Scalzi.
You recommended that one.
We're back to. I feel like we haven't done a good science fiction book in a while.
John Scalzi is wonderful, though.
And we've done a John Scalzi book, but this is one of his one-offs, and I've been recommended it before, and I think it might be time. So this is a book that's sort of a let's say parody. It's a Star Trek parody, but it's not actually Star Trek. But there's things that you can tell it's Star Trek. Basically, the guy who's in charge gets assigned to the capital ship, Universal Union capital ship Intrepid, which is the flagship of the Universal Union. And he's thrilled to be assigned as the xenobiology lab, to the xenobiology lab, until he realizes that every away mission involves a lethal confrontation with aliens. 2, the ship's captain, its chief science officer, and the handsome Lieutenant Kerensky always survive these confrontations. And 3, at least one low-ranked crew member is always killed. So he spends a great deal of energy below decks, avoiding at all costs being assigned to an away mission, until he basically can't avoid it anymore. And it's a fun time. It's a sort of Star Trek parody.
It's 100% a Star Trek parody.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's narrated by Will Wheaton.
Yes, also that. So, that's my pick. Does anybody else have any final thoughts on the book? I know you've got an 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was enjoyable. I thought, like, there were questions that I'm like, did I miss this? Like, did I not?
Yeah.
Like,
I think,
where that was. I think it's interesting enough that I would finish it, but I don't know that I want to do it like back to back.
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish the one I like.
Good for you.
I most want to hear. Sorry.
No, I didn't buy any. Like, there is no romance in this. Like Daphne, Danthe, whatever it is. Like, I'm like, nope. I didn't buy that. It did nothing for the plot for me. So I was happy that she kind of shut it down. It was like, no, that's not what this is about.
But it's suggested that she does love him, but she's not letting herself.
Yeah.
So that probably comes into play in book
that.
2. Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this book. It was, I think it was solid. Like, we've already said what our hangups were on it. I do think that, like, yes, Asher is internally consistent, but also I feel like he's touted as this, like, really smart guy, and then simultaneously he acts like a big dumb guy a lot of times.
Yeah,
so,
he's oafish.
Yeah, like he's like, it's simultaneously like he's simultaneously like stupid and smart at the same time, and it can be annoying at times. As well as the prince can be a little spoiled namby-pamby bitch a lot of the times, which got annoying.
Oh yeah, his temper tantrums were super annoying.
Yeah. There was a lot of, I feel like some of the interpersonal relationships were kind of annoying as well. Like, the characters were kind of like one-dimensional at times. Like, we did talk about Darren, who does have like a sort of like moment where he decides to be not a dick the whole time, and then immediately, like, he's never mentioned again. Like, he's like that. Him and Asher have sort of like a confrontation. Like, it would have been funny to like see how Darren was acting towards Asher, like, with this new posting.
What about the assistant? What was that guy's name?
Willa.
That one too. Like they have this like dramatic showdown where he's like, "You're nothing," and like, "Stop listening."
You would have loved that. That's like Vanderpump.
Yeah.
He's like burning bridges because he's like, "Fuck it, I'm not coming back." And then he's like, "JK," and it's never brought up.
Yeah.
Like that disrespect, nothing. It's just like.
Well, he saved the prince, so
yeah.
I mean, like that does go your entire meal ticket when he's like, not dead because of me." They're like,
yeah, but that's how Darren is. It never says how Willow acts, and Darren was at least tried to be professional with Asher most of the time, and was continually frustrated when Asher refused to be any kinds of professional. Like, right. But for the most time, he's like, it will come with time. And I'm assuming in the second book, Joel, since you're reading it, Willow's throwing more temper tantrums about how Asher's
literally
not gone.
All the distance I'm into it so far, I'm like 4 chapters in. It hasn't mentioned him once.
Yeah, they just like it's their plot. I don't know, like, you know, like Game of Thrones, where like you do the different perspectives and it brings you closer to the same narrative. You're all going towards the same place.
Yeah,
I don't feel that with this.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of these big pieces are like taken and discarded and brought back. Like if they didn't bring Willow back once, I'd be like, it didn't make any sense. I mean, the key, holy shit, we left the whole thing out there about how Dorne was possessed by the king, but Dorne was possessed by Morg, killed the king and queen and Fern.
Yeah.
We're just busy talking about the characters.
Yeah.
Like that's the actual like big arc of the story, like at the very end.
They kind of like make a little like resolution.
Book, like hour left.
Yeah.
No, in the audiobook it's like then it like goes like over the thing and then you don't hear them screaming, you just hear the crash. This ends.
Yeah, that's it.
Marks the end of it.
And then silence. This ends the end of book 1.
Yeah.
The story will conclude in book 2. I was like, no! Why did you do this to me?
Yeah. I mean,
was like, you bastards.
It was like the entire story of the book. Walked you to the precipice. You knew exactly what was going to happen. As soon as he touched the horses, you're like, these fuckers are going to either run and wreck the carriage or something.
Yeah.
What I really thought was going to happen was that he was going to kill the body, repossess or like possess the prince, and then be done with it. Like, I thought that was where it was going. So like, even though I knew it was going,
I mean, honestly, that would have made so much more sense.
Yeah.
In this story, that would have made so much more sense.
Yeah, and then it's Asher slowly realizing that the like, except no, because then he could have just been like, "Bye, Asher," and then.
It didn't make a lot of sense on that one. So
yeah, I feel like it was rushed at the end. Like I said, overall it was pretty good, but it felt rushed at times, and then simultaneously plotting in others. And then there were like wide swath, like you said, there were like huge parts of the story, like that were brought in, and then make it seem like a big, huge fucking deal, and then nothing would come of it. Like the king almost dies of a fever, and they think that he's dead, and then it turns out he like the healer decided to use some Olken remedies, and it saved the king, and then the king never struggles with his like ever again for the rest of the book.
He went and he prayed because he felt bad that his storm killed people.
Yeah.
Like,
and then but like he never like I was expecting this Conroy Geralt guy to be like calling for the king to resign because of the storm, and like they don't even like talk about that. It's like
it sounds like Conroy Geralt is like he loves the kingdom.
Yeah.
But also loves being a jagoff and a contrarian for no reason. Yeah,
he's all because he liked the king's wife when they were in high school.
Yeah, he snaped it.
No, I thought
I loved you.
I thought it's because he was next in line. He was supposed to be the heir.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Oh no, just kidding. I want another kid." And they're like, "Yeah, you get a kid."
Yeah.
Like, and he's like, "The fuck?" Like,
this
was
he's just mad that he's banging the queen. That's what it turned out at the end. Was he's like, "I loved your mother," and he's pissed that she picked the king.
Yeah. There's like.
I mean, like, really, if your kids are like in their late, it's like, Gar is like 30. Like, shut up.
It's mid-20s.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you should get over it.
Yeah.
But like, you should probably be able to like move on from your crush.
Especially since the king allowed him to stay on the Privy
I
Council or
love
whatever.
them forever. I'm sorry you're having inability to cope. Like,
yeah. There is really cool worlds, but there were definitely parts of the story where I was like, okay, and then it would have no new significance ever again, and I would be annoyed.
Yeah.
What did you think about it?
I loved it. I'm already on the second one, so I loved it.
Because you immediately
it
started the second book.
It's a story. I have to find out how it ends. Like, that's the thing. Is like I can't stop like some monster who was able to watch Empire Strikes Back and not watch Return of the Jedi.
Cultural knowledge.
Yeah, no, it's okay. No, I liked it. I was a big fan. So
Yeah, it's good. I like.
No.
But that's us coming up on our time. So next week we're gonna get back to some Warhammer, and then the week after we'll be returning with Red Shirts by John Scalzi.
Yeah, we're leaving fantasy and going to space.
Yeah, we're gonna go back to space for a while. Maybe I don't know about a while, but we're gonna for the next.
I'm actually kind of jazzed to be back into.
I feel like we've gone on a long fantasy binge, and it's time to do something else different for a bit.
I'm kind of jazzed. It's only 7 hours.
Oh, nice. Yeah, instead of because people have been picking like 20-hour books for like the last 5.
I try to cater to my audience, and fantasy books are long, guys. Fantasy books are long.
Not all, but a lot of them. All right, so that's it for tonight. Catch us again tomorrow. We'll be continuing our Dungeons and Dragons campaign and having some fun. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow for some more Nerds of Legend.
Yep. Thank you for joining.